Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, May 4th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Well, it's been a very, very busy day, and I wasn't live on the air on Monday, May 3rd, because I was a guest on the Tammy Mack Late Show on Fox Soul TV. So some of you all saw the Facebook post I did about it, and I posted the video of the show. I was a guest along with Dr. Umar Johnson and Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. And if you know anything about Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, you know that he is a brain damaged Negro. And the topic was dealing with what constitutes a sellout in the African American community, what constitutes a sellout in the Black community. So, needless to say, it was a pretty it was a pretty festive discussion, and Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson was going at Umar, and I tried to stay out of it, and then he kept it, and then Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson kept interrupting me when I was speaking. So I had to go off on him. So we'll share some segments on tomorrow's show about what happened. Okay. I got to go through and edit it a little bit. We'll share some segments on tomorrow's show about what happened. But yeah, it I had to take 2 extra strength Tylenol. Literally, seriously, I had a headache after dealing with Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. And I had to take 2 extra strength Tylenol after I got finished with that show. Oh, my God. You know, he said he grew up on a plantation when he was a little boy. And I think he's still mentally on the plantation. But so on tomorrow's show, we'll share some excerpts of the Tammy Mack Late Show. But, you know, it was a good show. We got some good information out. But, oh, Lord. Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson is something. And we got into a discussion. We talked a little bit about the discrimination against African American farmers, because I dealt with some history, right? And this ties into, once again, the discussion today. Now, on our show Friday, our April 30th, 2021 show, okay? We did the show after I did Roland Martin Unfiltered. And one of the topics we were going to deal with on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, April 30th, was this article from the Columbus Dispatch: White farmers sue seeking government loan forgiveness. Now, you know, we talked about we've talked about this before. So on my show Friday, since we did not get a chance to discuss this topic on Roland Martin Unfiltered because we ran out of time, we dealt with it in depth on my show Friday, April 30th. Okay, and I'm going to pull up this article here. White farmers sue seeking government loan forgiveness. This is from April 30th, 2021. This is behind the $5 billion allocated for African American farmers and farmers of color in the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, okay, that passed the House of Representatives and passed the U.S. Senate without a single Republican, including Senator Tim Scott. Not a single Republican voted for it, and it was signed into law by President Joe Biden. Okay, now it talks about a lawsuit in Wisconsin. But then there's a article from BlackAmericaWeb.com that talks about a second lawsuit on behalf of a white farmer in Texas. Okay, so see, now all of this is tied together. All of this is tied together. This is tied together to what Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina said on Wednesday, April 28th. When he delivered the GOP rebuttal to the speech from Joe Biden that Joe Biden delivered to a joint session of Congress. Then on Sunday, May 2nd, Senator Tim Scott was on Face the Nation. I'm going to share an excerpt of that interview on Face the Nation because Senator Tim Scott talked about the $5 billion going to African-American farmers and how it was wrong, how it's discrimination, how it's discriminating against white farmers. That's what this is about. This is what I've been telling you. That's what this is about. Now, John Wesley Boyd Jr., who's the president of the Black Farmers Association, we've talked about John Wesley Boyd Jr. here before. We shared some interviews that he's done. He was interviewed on Monday, May 3rd, 2021 by Roland Martin on Roland Martin Unfiltered to deal with this backlash that African-American farmers are getting. Okay. Now, it's important to understand, and I talked about this on the Tammy Mack Live show yesterday and broke this down to Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. He acted like he didn't understand what I was saying. Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, in a March 25th, 2021 interview with the Washington Post, and we've talked about all this here on the show before, he talked about how out of the $26 billion, the $26 billion approximately that white farmers got in 2020 from Donald Trump and the Trump administration, of the $26 billion that white farmers got, African-American farmers got 1/10 of 1%. 1/10 of 1%, $20.8 million. None of these Republicans who are saying systemic racism does not exist, none of these Republicans who are attacking the $5 billion allocated to African-American farmers because they lost 92% of their land over the past 100 years and lost 12 million acres of land, largely due to discriminatory practices coming from the federal government, coming from the Farmers Home Administration, dealing with redlining and all different types of things like this. None of these people who are attacking the $5 billion allocated to African-American farmers and farmers of color said anything about this discrepancy here under the Trump administration. I don't think Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson complained about this. Okay. So Secretary Vilsack, the new Secretary of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, he was interviewed by the Washington Post on March 25th, 2021. I've shared this interview with you before. Okay. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack says only 0.1% of Trump administration's COVID farm relief went to black farmers. Only 0.1% of Trump administration's COVID farm relief went to black farmers. Okay. So this is from March 25th, 2021. Now, it says of the distribution of the coronavirus relief increased those gaps, he said. Let's back up for a minute. In an interview with the Washington Post, Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack for the first time noted the extent to which the Trump administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic exacerbated existing disparities across the American economy. Okay, the Trump for the first time noted the extent to which the Trump administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic exacerbated existing disparities across the American economy. Because politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. Anybody that tells you it doesn't matter who's in office or anything like that, that's a lie. They don't understand politics. The distribution of coronavirus relief increased those gaps, Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack said. Of those who identified their race or ethnicity, black farmers received only $20.8 million of nearly $26 billion in two rounds of payments. Black farmers received only $20.8 million of nearly $26 billion in two rounds of payments under coronavirus food assistance program announced by the Trump administration in April 2020. Now, all these people who are attacking the $5 billion that Democrats allocated in the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, because there was no Republicans that did this. These were Democrats that did this. This was Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator Cory Booker and others. Now, all the Republicans who are attacking the 5 billion, why didn't you attack the maldistribution of the 26 billion and 99% of that going to white farmers? We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. You listen to that because see, this deals with systemic racism. And you got people like Senator Lindsey Graham, the senior senator from South Carolina, and other Republicans who are saying systemic racism does not exist. Well, systemic racism does not exist. How do you address it? They don't want to address it. That's the whole purpose. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, May 4th, 2021, and we are live calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a quick question or comment. So right before the break, we were talking about now it is 2 lawsuits that have been filed against the U.S. government, against the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack. And this is because of the $5 billion that's allocated to go towards African American farmers and farmers of color in the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Now, a lot of people are not talking about this. They talk about the $1,400 stimulus checks, but this $5 billion it's $4 billion in loan forgiveness and things like this. This greatly will benefit African American farmers. Okay, it's being attacked by conservatives, is being attacked by Republicans who are calling it racist and divisive and reverse racism, and they're saying systemic racism doesn't exist. Okay, so want to remind you all also, you can my new online course is on Saturdays, 12 noon to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This is a 9-week 18-hour online course. We deal with thousands of years of history, and we do what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay, so we just posted a link here. We do the class live, but all of the sessions are recorded. All of the sessions are recorded. So as soon as you register, you can watch the class that we did May 1st. Our next class is Saturday, May 8th. It's a 9-week, 18-hour online course where we do thousands of years of history. We start in ancient Africa and ancient Kemet and, ancient Egypt and Nubia and Ethiopia and the Nile Valley region of Africa. And we deal with also the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors. And we deal with what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay. It's regularly $130, on sale $80. All the sessions are archived. As soon as you register, you can watch our class from May 1st. But also I did the whole class in February and March, kicking off African American History Month in February. So we have those sessions that you can watch as well. They're all on demand. You can watch from around the world. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or we posted the link here. You can click there and register there. Okay. All right. And we have it right on the homepage of our website. Okay. So right before the break, I was giving you some background information dealing with this whole attack on this $5 billion allocated for African American farmers. Okay. And this ties into what Senator Tim Scott said in his rebuttal on Wednesday, April 28th. Okay, his rebuttal he delivered the GOP rebuttal to Joe Biden's speech to a joint session of Congress. People are missing the most important part of what Tim Scott said. See, people are focused on him saying America's not a racist country. That's not the most important part of what he said. The most important part of what he said is what he said next. What he said next was, it's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination, and it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present. See, because when he talks about it's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination, he's specifically talking about the $5 billion allocated to African American farmers, and he's talking about policies put in place to address racism, because this is how his party thinks. He's delivering the rebuttal on behalf of the GOP. This is how they think. You have many Republicans who are saying that systemic racism does not exist. And I want to bring up the article from the Washington Post. It has this quote in it because I read a number of sources. First of all, I saw the entire 14-minute plus speech that he delivered. I watched it live, and then I went back and watched it. Secondly, I see a lot of people comment on this, but they don't say the most important part. They don't tell you what the next sentence was. Okay, this is why you have to really research this information to know what you're talking about. And you have to understand the context that all of this is delivered in. Okay, this is it right here. So let's flip over to this one. Then when Tim Scott was interviewed on Face the Nation on Sunday, May 2nd, he talked about the $5 billion. We're going to share that clip with you. He talked about the $5 billion. That's what all this is tied to. It's also tied to critical race theory and the 1619 Project and the attack from Republicans on teaching about the history of slavery in school. Because Mitch McConnell, okay, Senator from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell is attacking the 1619 Project. All of this is connected. All of this is dealing with history and dealing with racism. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, which comes out of the ideology of European white supremacy. Racism has nothing to do with not liking people or calling people racial epithets. Racism occurs when one race of people control the majority of the wealth, power, resources, benefits, privileges, land, access to education, access to opportunity, healthcare, media, jobs, etc. And they use this to marginalize, subordinate, and do harm to another race of people. This is what racism is. Okay, now if we look at this here quickly, Senator Tim Scott's comments on race ignite a fiery debate. This is from April 29, 2021, from One Post. We scroll down here, and we can back up here. Okay. Scott delivered the official GOP response. This was the official Grand Old Party, Republican Party response. And he suggested that liberals are using race as a political weapon, defining all white people as oppressors and seeking to use the language of civil rights to rig elections. I've seen numerous people comment on what Tim Scott said, and then the response was from Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden. And most of the commentary and all this I can't say that word on the air. I almost said it. Most of the commentary is BS because they're not addressing the context that all of this is taking place within. Most of it is BS because they're not addressing the context that all of this is taking place within, and they're not even providing people with the full statements of what was said. Senator Tim Scott, delivered the official GOP response Wednesday, suggested that liberals are using race as a political weapon, defining all white people as oppressors and seeking to use the language of civil rights to rig elections. Tim Scott said, quote, "Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country." He goes on to say this is the most important thing because this ties into correcting racism. This ties into putting policies in place to address racism and centuries of racism and discrimination. Republicans, most of them don't even want to acknowledge that systemic racism exists. The very next thing Senator Tim Scott said after he said America is not a racist country is it's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present. How do you address racism, which is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, which comes out of laws and policies, if you don't put laws and policies in place to deal with racist laws and policies? Because they don't want to deal with them. That's what all this is about. Okay, now, you had a second lawsuit filed on behalf of white farmers attacking the $5 billion after white farmers got $26 billion from the Trump administration. And African-American farmers got $20.8 million, 1/10 of 1%. You got white farmers who are filing a lawsuit claiming discrimination and racism and their constitutional rights being violated. So let's look at this one here. We talked about the one from the Columbus Dispatch from Friday. It was actually from April 29th. The one from the Columbus Dispatch. April 30th. We talked about that one right before the break. Let me show it to you again here for those just joining in. And this talked about the lawsuit out of Wisconsin. Okay. White farmers sue seeking government loan forgiveness. This talked about the lawsuit out of Wisconsin. And it says a group of Midwestern farmers sued the federal government Thursday. Now, this is the day. So you got to understand the timeline of this. This was the day after Tim Scott's speech. That was Wednesday, April 28th. Thursday, April 29th, this lawsuit was filed on behalf of white farmers. A group of Midwestern farmers sued the federal government Thursday, alleging they cannot participate in the COVID-19 loan forgiveness program because they're white. What did Tim Scott say in the official GOP rebuttal to Joe Biden's speech? Tim Scott said it's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. This is what they're talking about. The group of plaintiffs includes farmers from Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and South Dakota. According to the lawsuit, the Biden administration's COVID-19 stimulus plan provides $4 billion to forgive loans for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers who are Black, American Indian, Hispanic, Alaska Native, Asian American, or Pacific Islander. White farmers are not eligible, amounting to a violation of the plaintiff's constitutional rights, the lawsuit contends. They ain't saying nothing about the $26 billion they got from the Trump administration, and the African American farmers are largely shut out of that. They ain't saying anything about that. They're complaining about this $4 billion. The $4 billion is $5 billion total, but it's $4 billion in loan forgiveness. They want to complain about that after African American farmers have lost 92% of their land over the past 100 years, 12 million acres of land over the past 100 years. Quote, were plaintiffs eligible for the loan forgiveness benefit, they would have the opportunity to make additional investments in their property, expand their farms, purchase equipment and supplies, and otherwise support their families and local communities, the lawsuit said. Because plaintiffs are ineligible to even apply for the program solely due to their race, they have been denied the equal protection of the law and therefore suffered harm. Okay, what did Tim Scott say in the official GOP rebuttal to Joe Biden's speech? This is what I'm saying. I've seen a lot of stuff people have been putting out. They're missing the most important part. He said it's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. They're talking about policies that will address racism. Most Republicans are against that. It was last Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was the day after. I think it was April 29th. I think it was the day after the Joe Biden delivered his speech to the joint session of Congress. Fox News had this town hall meeting dealing with Is America Racist? Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, who Andrew Gillum said, I'm not saying Mr. DeSantis is a racist. I'm saying the racists believe Mr. DeSantis is a racist. Governor Ron DeSantis says systemic racism doesn't exist. But you just signed into law a bill that would absolve people of any responsibility or prosecution if they accidentally drive into a crowd of protesters, like Black Lives Matter protesters, and injure somebody or kill somebody. Mr. DeSantis, you just signed that bill into law, sir. So let's continue with this, because we really don't understand this whole context of what's taking place. And now this is at the same time you have 361 voter restriction bills being pushed through 47 state legislatures, and these are bills being pushed through by Republicans to suppress the vote, operating based upon the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen. All this is taking place at the same time. And then you have next year, you have midterm elections in 2022. So read this full article here from the Columbus Dispatch. Okay, this is from April 30th, 2021. This is from Friday, April 30th, 2021. White farmers sue seeking government loan forgiveness. Okay. Then May 3rd, the article came out from blackamericaweb.com, and it talks about a second lawsuit on behalf of a white farmer crying crocodile tears, not saying anything about the $26 billion white farmers got from the Trump administration. Conservatives launched lawsuits attacking historic government aid for Black farmers. And see, one of the things was, Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson was lucky, said it at the tail end of the show yesterday, because he said Black farmers were getting a freebie in this coronavirus bill, $5 billion. He called it a freebie. That's not a freebie. That's to deal with 100 years of racism and discrimination. conservatives launched lawsuits attacking historic government aid for black farmers. White farmers overwhelmingly benefited from federal aid programs under the Trump administration. So they have amnesia now. Maybe, luckily for you, Obamacare covers pre-existing conditions. Luckily for you, Obamacare covers pre-existing conditions because they have amnesia and they suffer from white fragility, it seems like. 5 white farmers last week sued USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack. So that lawsuit was filed on Thursday, April 29th, the day after Tim Scott delivered the rebuttal speech on behalf of the GOP. They're suing USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack in his official capacity, alleging reverse discrimination for his treatment of black farmers in particular. Alleging reverse discrimination. The lawsuit claimed the effort to address equity for farmers of color denied white farmers equal protection under the law. Well, black farmers didn't get equal protection for the past 100 years, approximately. Playing fast and loose with the historic provision, not to be confused with Wild and Loose by Moore's Day and the Time. By the time, but it's Wild and Loose. This is Fast and Loose, okay? All right. Playing fast and loose with the historic provision, the conservative Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty represents the 5 farmers. In the complaint, and see, these are farmers in this is in Wisconsin. Let me see. It shows it in the other one. It shows it in the one from the Columbus Dispatch. Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and South Dakota. And in this one here, it also shows Illinois. This article here, it also shows Illinois. But in the complaint filed in federal court, the conservative lawyers allege the white farmers were otherwise eligible for the forgiveness program. The lawsuit cites general non-discrimination language from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, never explaining how providing support to, now this is really important. The lawsuit never explains how providing support to groups traditionally overlooked, traditionally discriminated against, okay? It doesn't explain how providing support can, it doesn't explain how providing support to groups traditionally overlooked is discrimination. They requested the court block the distribution of the aid program until such time when the issue of race is no longer considered in the distribution of funds. I'm still confused. Why weren't these same farmers complaining about the $26 billion and what the white farmers, how African American farmers were largely shut out of that? Now, an agriculture policy blog highlighted a similar lawsuit filed in Texas, backed by the newly launched America First Legal. Now, this is the second lawsuit. Okay, this is filed in Texas. The first one was filed in Wisconsin. The 2 lawsuits pointed to possible coordination of conservative interests attacking the equity-based vision. Acting in his professional capacity as Texas Agriculture Secretary and a farmer, Sid Miller, S-I-D, Sid Miller sued. He claimed that farmers of Irish, Italian, German, Jewish, or Eastern European heritage, quote, have unquestionably suffered discrimination, According to his agency's website, Sid Miller is an 8th generation farmer. Now, America First Legal, similar to other America First efforts, was launched by a Trump advisor. Okay? This one is launched by white supremacist Stephen Miller. Now, despite feeling entitled to a provision set aside to benefit historically disadvantaged farmers, neither the white farmers nor their lawyers addressed the many ways white farmers have benefited from federal support. In fact, white farmers overwhelmingly benefited from COVID-19 government aid programs under the Trump administration, as U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack said in the March 25th interview with the Washington Post that we showed you. Now, attorneys representing farmer Sid Miller, basically claimed that the one-drop rule should apply to permit more people to be eligible. By definition, this would allow people who conveniently benefit from whiteness and the existing administration of USDA programs to take needed resources from those left behind. Now, almost all of the $26 billion in pandemic-related aid administered by the Trump administration went to white farmers. This includes up to $14 billion set aside last fall for certain types of producers, including corn and dairy farmers. Before the passage of the debt relief for socially disadvantaged farmers, only 0.1% of pandemic aid went to black farmers. The term socially disadvantaged farmer, found in section 2501 of the Farm Bill, which deals with policy. That's federal policy. That's millions of dollars a year, tens of millions of dollars a year allocated in the annual federal budget that goes to farmers. That's the annual Farm Bill. The term socially disadvantaged farmer, which is found in section 2501 of the Farm Bill, includes farmers of color. It includes farmers of color. As previously noted by News One, the Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act, set aside $4 billion to provide direct financial support to farmers of color. Other funds were also allocated to address the systemic issues with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Okay, read the rest of this article here. This is from blackamericaweb.com. News1.com has the same article also. Conservatives launch lawsuits attacking historic government aid for black farmers. White farmers overwhelmingly benefited from federal aid programs under the Trump administration. Now, these same Republicans, Lindsey Graham, Senator Tim Scott, all these same Republicans crying crocodile tears over this $5 billion allocated for African American farmers, Hispanic farmers, Native Americans. They were silent when $26 billion was going to white farmers under the Trump administration. Now, I want to go to this clip. We're going to go to clip one, Shakita. I want to go to this clip here. This is from Roland Martin Unfiltered from Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Roland interviewed John Wesley Boyd Jr., who's president of the Black Farmers Association. And John Wesley Boyd Jr. Spoke to this issue here of these lawsuits. And he also said, so far, now we know the American Rescue Plan, that bill was signed into law in February. He said, so far, African American farmers have not received any money yet. Let's go to this clip, Shakita.
Folks like white supremacist Stephen Miller are not happy at all that black farmers got $5 billion in the COVID relief bill. So he's joined with a group of Midwestern farmers to sue the federal government. They claim they can't receive COVID-19 loan forgiveness because they're white. According to the lawsuit filed by farmers from Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and South Dakota, President Biden's stimulus plan violates their constitutional rights. The American Rescue Plan provides $4 billion in loan forgiveness for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers who are Black, American Indian, Hispanic, Alaskan Native, Asian American, or Pacific Islander. The U.S. Department of Agriculture issued the following statement, quote, "We are reviewing the complaint and working with the Department of Justice. During this review, we will continue to implement debt relief to qualified socially disadvantaged borrowers under the law." John Boyd is the founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association, joins us right now. So, John, what do you make of the white farmers being so upset and hot and bothered by all of this?
Well, I tell you, Roland, thank you for having me. And we must be doing something right. And here we have the proven in history. White men filing suits against black farmers receiving money. And that's what they've been doing throughout history. They stole all the land from Indians. They stole the land from blacks. They supported sharecropping and slavery and all these awful Jim Crow laws. And now we're sitting here in the year 2021 where white farmers don't want black farmers to get a dime. And so far, Roland, we really haven't gotten any money. So they really put the cart before the horse yet. That the monies have not even been dispersed. And I've been urging the Agriculture Secretary to get those payments to black farmers to debt relief swiftly and quickly as possible. But as I speak to you, not a dime has went to black farmers and other farmers of color. And it shows the hatred, the bigotry that still exists in agriculture. You sit there talking about discrimination. One of the most racist industries in the United States is the agriculture industry. Here we have an agriculture secretary of Texas where 8 out of 10 loans were denied to black farmers on average in this country, and he's filing suit against black farmers. So what kind of help is he offering black farmers in the state of Texas? Probably nothing.
What do you say, again, we played the clip earlier. Did you see this Senator Tim Scott on Face the Nation where he called it reverse racism, that you guys are receiving, the black farmers are receiving this, as if he's completely clueless to the history of black farmers, and then said, well, Pickford, that decision was to fix black farmers not getting funds. This is reverse. This is reverse racism.
Well, here's the issue that Tim Scott and the other senator from South Carolina have. They need to really check themselves here, Roland. All of the money, just about 99% of $500 billion went to white farmers in the United States from taxpayer dollars. So here we have a mere $5 billion just scratching the surface, and they've gotten $500 billion with a T. And now they're sitting here talking about reverse discrimination. My question to Tim Scott is, how many times do white farmers get paid? They've gotten all of the money, all of the years, all of the decade, and all of the time. And we are the group that's been totally excluded based on all of the numbers, all of the statistics, from land loss to the lack of loans to the lack of presence at federal offices in the United States of America. These folks are lost, and they really need to check themselves and look at the history. Look in the history of the United States of America, and it shows what I'm saying is factual here.
Hey, pause it right there for me, Shakita.
Eugene.
Pause it right there. Okay, pause it right there. All right, I want to go to clip. I want to go to clip 3 from Face the Nation. Okay, it should already be queued up. Okay, now this is Senator Tim Scott from Face the Nation this past Sunday, May 2nd. He did about a 9-minute interview. In this segment, he's addressing his comments about America's not a racist country, but then dealing with policy, and he talks about the $5 billion going to African-American farmers. Let's go to this clip, Shakita. Clip number 3. Tim Scott says significant numbers of Republicans willing to support police reform.
And on the streets, so respond.
Let me ask you about your theory about race. You said America is not a racist country in your response to the president. The president has subsequently said he agrees with you. But you've also said, so there's some common ground there. You've also said to suggest there aren't racial challenges and patterns is for someone to be blind. And you've also said that the system is breaking the back and breaking the spirit of millions of people in our country. And you're talking about Black Americans who are being affected by that system. So help people understand when you say it's not a racist country, but then you do talk about a system that targets Black Americans. You've talked about it today. Help people square those two statements.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, let me say, thank goodness that finally our president, our vice president, and one of the leaders in the Democrat caucus in the House, Jim Clyburn, have all come forward and said exactly what I've been saying for a long time. America is not a racist country. The question is Is there a lingering effect after a couple of centuries of racism and discrimination in this nation? The answer is absolutely. The question we should be debating and fighting over is how do we resolve those issues going forward? One side says, I'm going to take from some to give to others. Fighting bigotry with bigotry is hypocrisy. It just doesn't work. The second, our side, what I suggested is let's expand opportunity and make sure that we are fully equipped for the challenges of the future. One of the reasons why we have fought for and won the highest level of funding for historically black colleges, Republicans leading that fight, is because I understand that if I can level the playing field in education, we will actually see human flourishing that, like we've never seen before. If we focus our attention in healthcare, as we have on sickle cell anemia or on opportunity zones for bringing resources into poor communities, we'll see what we have seen, which is the unemployment rates hitting all-time lows for African Americans, Hispanics, 70-year low for women. Those things actually matter, John.
Yeah, but when you say one side is talking about taking from one side to the other, I mean, this is, people pay taxes, and there's an argument that the taxes that are paid should go to communities that we've seen, especially under COVID-19, have been disproportionately affected, and that's laid bare a lot of the inequities. So you're not saying that making sure that there's money that goes to those black communities is a bad thing.
Well, John, let me say it differently. When you pass a COVID package with $2 trillion of spending, and in your package you hide in there, if you are a black farmer, we will give you resources, but if you are a white farmer, you're excluded from those same resources. That's taking from one to give to the other. It's one of the reasons why in the 1990s, the USDA had to pay out the Pickford settlements to black farmers for taking from them to give to white farmers. So we're going to reverse that and call that a way of creating fairness in our country? That doesn't really work.
Of course, they would argue that they're trying to deal with that system and the inequities you talk about. But let me ask you about taxes here, because that's a part of this argument too. The president says 55 largest corporations pay no corporate taxes. Polls consistently show 70% of the country thinks that, the system is tilted towards.
Okay. So Tim Scott is wrong on a number of different points. One, if you read the full comments from President Joe Biden, as well as Vice President Kamala Harris, they're saying something much different than what Tim Scott was saying, because they're addressing systemic racism. And in his speech, his rebuttal speech from the GOP, he didn't want to acknowledge systemic racism existed. He talked about personal experiences with being stopped by police and things like this. The GOP doesn't want to acknowledge systemic racism exists. Okay? They're saying something much different. I dealt with that on my Sunday show, May 2nd, and we also dealt with that Friday, April 3rd. Okay? Watch the entire interview that Craig Melvin did with Joe Biden. Watch the entire 6-minute and 55-second interview that George Stephanopoulos did on Good Morning America with Vice President Kamala Harris, Thursday, April 29th. Watch the entire 14-minute plus speech that Tim Scott delivered. It's at NBCnews.com. So you can deal with this stuff in its totality and understand what was actually said. Those watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Keep watching. We're going to keep broadcasting. We're out of time here on 910 a.m. Superstation WFDF. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. Not over till we win Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. Stand by, everybody. Okay. Somebody asked, is Tim Scott married? I don't know. Google that. I want to know if Tim Scott is married. I want to know if she's white, because I would not be surprised if she's white. Okay. I had the same question for, I didn't get a chance to ask him, but I want to, I have to look up Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, see if he's married, because if he's married, I wonder if he's married to a white woman. I don't know. But okay, how's everybody doing? We're going to continue here. I'm going to play the rest of this interview that John Wesley Boyd Jr. did with Roland Martin, dealing with this attack on African-American farmers and this $5 billion allocation in the American Rescue Plan. All right. And then also what we're going to do over the next few days, we're going to break down what was accomplished in the Biden administration's first 100 days and how that impacts African Americans. Because I see people putting stuff out here and I can tell they don't study politics. Haven't looked at what was accomplished. Haven't looked at what's in the American Rescue Plan. The $1.8 trillion American Families Plan. That's going to greatly benefit African Americans. The approximately $2 trillion infrastructure bill. That's going to greatly impact African Americans as well. That's going to create about 2.7 million jobs. It's going to have a huge impact. And one of the things it's going to do is put in fresh water pipes. Okay, talk to the people in Flint, Michigan, and ask, do they need fresh water pipes? Because it's been about 3,000 communities identified in the U.S. that have higher lead levels in their water than Flint, Michigan did. A lot of those are areas that have a heavy African American population. Ask, does that positively impact African Americans to do that? Yes, it does. All right. Be sure to register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. It's a 9-week, 18-hour online course. We deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We'll post a link here. It meets on, this class meets on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we do it live, but all the sessions are recorded, so you can go back and watch it over and over again if you miss anything. You can watch from around the world. It's a 9-week, 18-hour online course, okay? So we posted the link here, and it's also on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So when you go to our website and you scroll down and you see the information for my radio show, and you scroll down and then click here to listen to podcasts of the show, click here to read articles. We have the information for the class here, and click here to register here. And it takes you to the next page, and you scroll down and click here to enroll. All right. And as soon as you register, you can start watching the content. You can watch the class we did May 1st, and then you'll be ready for our Saturday, May 8th class. Class is regularly $130, on sale $80. Okay. White supremacy broke and destroyed Black Wall Street, and now call it Wall Street in New York City. You're confusing two things. Black Wall Street was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Wall Street in New York City. Wall Street was part of the Dutch colony called New Amsterdam, because the Dutch were taking Africans into the Dutch colony in New Amsterdam in 1627, and the Africans in that colony were forced to build a wall to ward off Native Americans coming in and attacking. And then the colony of New Amsterdam became the colony of New York. And the wall that they built is where Wall Street gets its name from. And the first, and before they were trading stocks on Wall Street, they were trading enslaved Africans on Wall Street. Black Wall Street is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was the business district in North Tulsa, the Greenwood district. Okay, so you're confusing two different things. And we rebuilt Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma after the race massacre of June 1st, 1921. We rebuilt Black Wall Street with our own dollars also, because the insurance companies didn't pay out on our insurance claims on our businesses and homes and things like that. Okay. The most popular Black Wall Street was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You had one you had Hastings Street. You had them in Durham, North Carolina. You had others, but the most popular one is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, let's continue here. I want to go back to the interview with John Wesley Boyd Jr. from Roland Martin Unfiltered from Monday, May 3rd, 2021, because John Wesley Boyd Jr. is the president of the Black Farmers Association. He was addressing these attacks on the money allocated in the American Rescue Plan. Now, once again, this is an example of how elections have consequences. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, the adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. Okay, this bill would not have passed under Trump, and not a single Republican in either the House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate voted for this bill, including Senator Tim Scott. And Senator Tim Scott has 6,000 African-American farmers in South Carolina, just like Senator Lindsey Graham has 6,000 African-American farmers in South Carolina. Now, John Wesley Boyd Jr. is demanding that Senator Lindsey Graham apologize for statements that are attacking the allocation of the funds and attacking the subsidies. John Wesley Boyd Jr. is calling for an apology from Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham has not apologized so far. This is why when in the interview that you heard that Roland did with him, and John Boyd Jr. said the other senator from South Carolina, he's talking about Lindsey Graham. He just didn't want to say Lindsey Graham's name. He's throwing shade at Lindsey Graham when he said the other senator from South Carolina. Now, this is an article from rawstory.com. We've talked about this here before. Black farmer Lindsey Graham must apologize for racist comment about subsidies kept from farmers of color for years. And that dealt with the interview that Reverend Al Sharpton did on Politics Nation with John Wesley Boyd Jr. going back to March 14, 2021. When you read this article from rawstory.com, it has the video of that interview in there, and Boyd talks about Lindsey Graham. And he talks about the fact that Lindsey Graham has 6,000 African-American farmers in South Carolina, and Lindsey Graham is not doing anything for them. Okay, so let's go. I want to go back to the interview here from Roland Martin and Filter. Let's go to this clip.
Nation, my question to Tim Scott is, how many times do white farmers get paid? They've gotten all of the money, all of the years, all of the decade, and all of the time. And we are the group that's been totally excluded based on all of the numbers, all of the statistics, from land loss to the lack of loans to the lack of presence at federal offices in the United States of America. These folks are lost, and they really need to check themselves and look into history. Look in the history of the United States of America, and it shows what I'm saying is factual here.
Eugene.
There we go. Hey, can you guys hear me? Appreciate it.
Now we can hear you.
Good to see you, Brother John. I guess my question is, one of the things I think we probably can do as a community is support these Black farmers and, intentionally buy produce from Black farmers. Do you guys have like a portal or e-commerce website where you can be able to connect Black farmers with product directly with consumers, where we can, just grab directly from Black farmers and, help keep our Black farmers alive?
Absolutely. And we want to connect those farm local areas. Please look at our website, nationalblackfarmersassociation.org, and become a member. We need to be connected, and we need to share this information and knowledge and wisdom right now. And this is a very, very important time in history. For the first time, we're actually going to get, hopefully, $5 billion, $1 billion to go to technical assistance and outreach to do some of the things that you're asking a question about. That hasn't been set up yet. So I believe in the coming months, maybe when I come back on road and I have more information on how these programs are going to be rolled out. But until then, we need support. The National Black Farmers Association needs the support of Black America to speak out and support us in this fight. I'll probably wind up filing something in court in the coming days. And I reached out to the Justice Department to look at this rinky-dink lawsuit here, is what I'm going to call it. And we'll probably wind up filing something in court as well, some sort of injunction of some sort. But we need the support from the Black community to speak up about this terrible injustice that continues against America's Black farmers. And we've lost the land. We've lost so much in this country. And we're going to fight back. I'm going to fight back, and I'm going to continue to fight back. It took us 30 years to get this debt relief to Black farmers, and I want people to ask them, the senators, to reach out and support Cory Booker's bill, the Black Farmers Justice Act bill. That's another way that they could help us. There's an additional fundings there, and to return the lands to the Black and newer beginning farmers in this country. So we're making some headways, and these people are mad about it, but they weren't mad about slavery. They weren't mad about Jim Crow. and they weren't mad about stealing all the land from Indians and from blacks in this country.
Michael.
Mr. Boyd, have you, black farmers, how do they do with being vendors to the Whole Foods, Harris Teeter's, Vons, Kroger, Giant, Safeway, you name it? Are they able to compete with those grocery stores where a lot of obviously people of color shop? And maybe that's one of the ways where black folks the consumer can be helpful, is to say, are you getting from, what kind of farmers are you getting your produce from?
Absolutely. And that's the type of effort that needs to happen, where corporate America simply isn't doing enough, in my opinion, to partner and contract with black farmers. I've been seeking that out to companies like PepsiCo and others to actually issue contracts to black farmers that, where they have a footprint and presence. I'm working on a deal now with Walmart that may pan out to do some good things for black farmers. But I also want to remind people of how bad some of these companies have treated black farmers, such as Monsanto, where we filed suit against them. And also John Deere, we're looking at maybe having some legal issues there where they refuse to service black farmers, tractors and combines, and they come when they get ready. And white farmers in this country get same day service. That's the type of blatant discrimination that black farmers are still existing right now as I speak to you on this show. So that was a great question, and urge all of these companies to do business. And where you're spending your dollars, especially in the food industry, ask them, do they have any contracts with black farmers?
Julian, question for John Boyd.
First of all, Mr. Boyd, thank you for your work and for your persistence in raising this issue about black farmers. Now, when President Obama was in office, Tom Vilsack was the Secretary of Agriculture, and he was not the most easy person to deal with for black farmers. However, he's been reappointed by President Biden. What's your thought about that? Has he been more malleable, or is he still sort of the brick wall that he used to be?
Well, as you know, and me and Roland actually spoke about this on his show, we weren't excited about Secretary Vilsack going back to USDA, and I told him just last month, he said he wanted to listen and learn. I told him he should have listened and learned under the Obama years, and he should get the payments out to black farmers within 30 days is what I asked him to do. But the president had a Zoom call, and he asked me to support Secretary Vilsack coming back to the Ag Department, because many of us didn't like that issue or that thought. I was more excited about Marsha Fudd, someone more progressive, and that would to do more with black farmers and expand our avenues there. But we got Secretary Vilsack. He's there. I'm going to try to work with him to make sure that these payments get out to black farmers just as quickly as possible. And the president said if it doesn't work out, reach out and let him know. And I plan to do just that if he doesn't do what he says he's going to do. So we're going to give him a chance, and he has to show us this time. It's not the black farmers showing him anymore. Now he has to show us, what he's going to do to advance the ideas and concerns of black farmers and other farmers of color in this country.
All right. John Boyd, let us know how it goes. Any help we can give, we're always there for you.
And listen, Roland, I want you guys to come down to my farm and visit my farm in Virginia sometime. So that's an invitation for you and your whole cast.
Hey, I'll come. No, first of all, where's your farm?
It's Virginia, North Carolina border. It's in a little small township called Boydton, like my name, slave name, Boydton.
So how far is it from D.C.?
It's about 3 hours dead south of D.C.
All right. So I think what we'll do is, I think we might take a road trip, because I haven't ridden horses in a while. So I need to do that. And so maybe what we'll do is, we'll get the Row Mobile, and actually broadcast the show, from the farm, this summer.
Absolutely. Love to do that. And again, thank you, Roland, for staying on top of this issue, because you were one of the first journalists to put it on your television show back in 2009, 2008, when black farmers.
All right, we're back. My computer went into hibernation. on me. I'm broadcasting live. Okay, so that was from Roland Martin Unfiltered, Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Okay. So check out that interview. That's it. You can watch that on YouTube at Roland Martin on YouTube, or Facebook, Roland Martin on Facebook. So this is all tied together. All right. Now the story dealing with Mitch McConnell, this is all tied together. The speech from Tim Scott, the policies from the Democrats, and there's much more of an effort to address racism and systemic racism from policies coming from the Democrats than there are from Republicans. Now, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but unlike a lot of people who comment on these topics, I actually study politics. When you study the policies, it's Republicans who are attacking policies to address systemic racism. All right. Now, the story I was going to do with the story here with Mitch McConnell. We'll talk about that for a minute. We'll do most of that on the Wednesday show, because I'm going to share with you an interview that Roland did with Nicole Hannah-Jones, the journalist who spearheaded the New York Times 1619 Project. The 1619 Project is still coming under attack. We'll talk about this in just a minute. We'll deal with that more on our Wednesday show. Then also on our Wednesday show, I'll share with you a couple of excerpts from the Tammy Mack Live show when I was a panelist on with Dr. Umar Johnson and Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. And Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, oh my God, that brother needs some help. He is mentally enslaved. Let me see here. Well, here's the link to that clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered right here. Now, also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, and we definitely need your support. $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, or through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And when you do it through Cash App, be sure to type in $ the AHN show, SHOW, and it'll show my name. It'll say Michael, and then it'll show my picture there. And then you can also do it through PayPal or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. This helps us keep broadcasting 6 days a week, stay on the air, keep doing the research, pay some of the bills, etc. And you can also register for my online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. If we go back quickly to the article from blackamericaweb.com, and it's also at newsone.com as well. Conservatives launch lawsuits attacking historic government aid for black farmers. Now, what I find very interesting is that these same conservatives don't tell you how to address the historic discrimination that is targeted at African American farmers. They don't tell you what to do to address the historic discrimination. When you try to put policies in place to address the historic discrimination, they want to call the policies racism. They want to call the remedy racism, but not the policies that cause the need for the remedy. They don't want to call the original policies. They don't want to call that racism. Okay, now, if you scroll back down, there's like a last paragraph here I wanted to show you. So, as previously reported by News One, the Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act, the Emergency Relief for Farmers of Color Act, set aside $4 billion to provide direct financial support to farmers of color. Other funds were also allocated to address the systemic issues within the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now, the USDA Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement, OPPE, not to be confused with OPP. Okay? OPP is not the same as OPPE. Okay, I don't want people to be confused. If you hear OPPE, don't say, I'm down with OPPE. Okay, so the USDA Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement, also known as OPPE, oversees programming to support socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. It was first introduced in the 1990 Farm Bill. The term expanded to include veterans in 2014. the federal government has allocated over $130 million for grants to Section 2501 programs since 1994. Okay. All right. So check out this article here from blackamericaweb.com. Also. All right. Now, there was, I want to try to squeeze this other one in. There was a really good interview that John Boyd Jr. did with Yahoo News. It's only 4 minutes. And I want to try to squeeze this one in also. Let's see here.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid Al Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com.
Are you getting ready for fall or winter? We have the solution for all seasonal clothing needs. Kemeticwear.com is the go-to online source for Kemetic African fashion and lifestyle products with a contemporary twist. We're committed to offering unique styles reflecting our African heritage. Kemeticwear.com is inspired by KemeticScribes.com to influence our people in learning and showing pride. Please visit our website at Kemeticwear.com.
Okay. Let's go to this one here. Just a second. Let's cue this up. This deals with white farmers sue U.S. government seeking coronavirus loan forgiveness. This is from Yahoo News, May 4th, 2021, an interview with John Wesley Boyd Jr.
Decades-long racism in farming by creating programs through the coronavirus stimulus that is exclusively for minority farmers. And now white farmers are suing in order to gain access. We're joined now by John Boyd, president of the National Black Farmers Association, and Yahoo Finance's Adriana Belmonte. So, John, I want to start with the obvious question. How is a program like this, as you view it, essentially fair and not reverse racism, as I know some folks are calling it?
Well, it's definitely not reverse racism. I've been trying to get debt relief for blacks and other farmers of color for over 30 years. This isn't a new request at all. And when I first heard about the complaint, I immediately thought about history, where blacks were enslaved. Native Americans lost all their land at greed of many white men. And this is the same thing, where they've been already received nearly $500 billion out of the U.S. Farm Subsidy Program since the early 90s. And many blacks didn't get a dime of that money. So here I worked all these years to get debt relief, to me, a small amount, of $5 billion for blacks and other farmers of color, and $1 billion to set up outreach and technical assistance. These are things that blacks didn't get. And we didn't get them in a lawsuit. We didn't get debt relief from the lawsuits. And it's just something that's very troubling for me. And here you have an ag secretary in the state of Texas who's leading up this complaint, where 8 out of 10 blacks in the state of Texas who applied for federal aid were denied. So instead of filing a suit to complain for white farmers, why isn't he doing something to help black farmers in his very own state obtain access to credit at USDA and other state agencies where he could be more helpful to farmers of color there? So again, it just shows the troubling pattern. And it looks like we're going back in time in history where, they just don't want blacks to have anything. And we want to be treated with dignity and respect. That's it. And if we had been treated with dignity and respect, we wouldn't have lost all of our farmers since the turn of the century, where we represented almost 14% of America's farmers. We're down from 20 some odd million acres of land down to 4 million acres. And they've been knowing these troubling patterns for a long time, and they never once tried to help us fix it.
John, I was looking through this lawsuit, and I noticed one line at the beginning that really stuck out to me. They said, every time the government places citizens on racial registers and makes race relevant to the provision of burdens or benefits, it demeans us all. So when you hear a statement like that, that a program like this demeans everybody, how do you respond to that?
Well, for me as a black farmer, COVID really made things more difficult for us. Here you have the federal government who still isn't totaling out aid to black farmers in a fair way. $29 billion just under the Trump administration alone. 0.05% went to farmers of color in this country. A very dismal amount. So they know we were in trouble. They know we were struggling during COVID, and they still don't want us to get this relief. Anytime there's relief on the table for black farmers, many large-scale white farmers find it troubling that we get the aid. But they don't see anything wrong with them getting taxpayer dollars at the tune of a $500 billion just in farm subsidies, not to equate anything that went out for farm operating loans, farm ownership loans, and all of these other programs that USDA has. The answer here is very easy. Fix it so that black farmers can participate in federal programs equally and equitably, and we wouldn't need a special program or an act of Congress to help us do that.
All right, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that lawsuit and bringing up all of the updates. John, looking forward to chatting with you again in the future. John Boyd, president of the National Black Farmers Association. Adriana Belmonte, thank you both for joining us in this conversation.
Okay, so that was from Yahoo Finance. That's on YouTube. White farmers sue the U.S. government seeking coronavirus loan forgiveness. White farmers sue the U.S. government seeking coronavirus loan forgiveness. That's from Yahoo Finance, May 4th, 2021. You can find that interview on YouTube, and here we'll post a link here also. Okay. And you see the graphic that we have up here as well to give some insight into this portion of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan bill that no Republicans voted for. Stimulus provides $4 billion to forgive loans for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers who are African American, American Indian, Hispanic, Alaska Native, Asian American, or Pacific Islander. Plaintiffs say exclusion, plaintiffs in these lawsuits filed on behalf of these white farmers. Plaintiffs say exclusion is a violation of their constitutional rights. Now, they skip over the $500 billion in subsidies that white farmers have received. They skip over the almost $26 billion that white farmers received from the Trump administration. Okay, they have amnesia when it comes to all that. The $5 billion that's going to African American farmers and Hispanic farmers and Latin American farmers for historic discrimination. Okay, now all of a sudden they have a problem. Now, this reminds me of Dr. King, and this reminds me of this reminds me of 1966. Dr. King delivered a speech, and they talk about it in the book How White Folks Got So Rich, The Untold Story of American White Supremacy. And it's Dr. King dealing with economics. Okay, and every Dr. King Day, they like to show the last 2 minutes of his speech that was renamed "I Have a Dream," because "I Have a Dream" was not the original name of the speech. And they like to talk about the mountaintop. They don't talk about that. The speech was 43 minutes. The speech was about 16 minutes and some change. I Have a Dream. Originally called A Canceled Check. Well, before that, it was called Normalcy Never Again. Just 1 second. So Dr. King talks about what happened after slavery ended. And he talks about how the former slaves were locked out of a massive land giveaway. Okay. But he also talks about federal aid that white farmers got and how African American farmers were locked out of this federal aid. All right. Let's go to this clip here. This is from Dr. King was speaking at a church in 1968. Early 1968, Dr. King is speaking at a church, and he's talking about the acquisition of land. In the book, How White Folks Got So Rich, The Untold Story of American White Supremacy, the third edition, they talk about this on page 73 and 74. All right. Talk about this on page 73 and 74. Let's go to this clip here.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Okay, I want to back that up and play that again so you take in all of this. He's talking about policies, discriminatory policies from the federal government that gave an advantage to white farmers, disadvantaged African American farmers. All right, so from 1930 to 1939, we lost over 200,000 African American farms during the Great Depression. And we go from 930,000 farms down to about 680,000, something like that. So I want to play this clip here again so you can hear exactly what he's talking about, Dr. King.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Wait a minute. All right, so that's Dr. King breaking this down. He's dealing with this history, which caused the lawsuits to have to be filed on behalf of African American farmers. Okay, it caused lawsuits to have to be filed on behalf of African American farmers. Okay, so let's continue here. All right, so we'll deal with the rest of this on the show tomorrow. We'll get into Mitch McConnell attacking the 1619 Project. We're out of time here. Be sure to register for my online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. All right, we have to get out of here. Be sure to register for my online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Black Bees products are a collection of natural, organic, personal care products with an appreciation of nature and bees. Our philosophy is without bees, we have nothing. We are honoring our Nile Valley ancestors who understood the importance of bees. Black Bees created a high-quality, natural, organic personal care line that would be affordable to everyone. We hope you try and enjoy our Black Bees products line and come back and visit us at blackbeesproducts.com.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
With blackbusinesstee.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business, know your numbers, and plan strategically. Black Business Boss, lead your industry. Support black business, encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. BlackBusinessTea.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusinesstee.com. For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El-Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid El-Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com. Digital Dandelion's Technical Solutions works with businesses like yours to create an operations manual for your business, which is something many businesses don't have. According to AARP, more than 30% of small business owners are over 50 years old. Many business owners want to retire by selling their businesses or by passing their businesses on to their children. However, according to Forbes Investment Advisors, many retiring owners' attempts to sell their businesses for retirement fail. You cannot sell your business without a business manual. Your children also cannot inherit your business because there is no way to run it. Your business does not have to die when you leave. Their business Bible products will give you the tools you need for a thriving business that can make you money even after you retire. Are you looking at increasing your business's annual revenue? Digital Dandelions can help you make at least $100,000 in annual revenue and expand your business.